Some dudes get to come back as fierce tigers, others, deadly snakes, but me, I'm a freaking lake. Let's be real, I'm a pathetic puddle barely 2 meters wide, and I'm stuck in the middle of a desert. Watching my own body steam away under this hellish sun was a mood. I realized I was just a ticking clock. Bone dry? Dead? That was the plan. But just as I'm ready to give up, this glitchy system screen pops up. I had 2 level 1 skills, spring rain and water levitation. Total energy in the tank? 100 points. If I level up, I can evolve into something legit, like spirit fire that heals every wound it touches, the power to control wind, fire, and lightning. I could be an elemental lake, the master of creation. But then red alert. System goes full panic mode. Warning, host evaporates into nothing in exactly 12 hours. I didn't waste a second. I dove straight into the skill descriptions to see how to save my skin. Spring rain actually makes it pour wherever my mist can reach. And this isn't regular rain, it's loaded with spiritual energy. It basically supercharges growth. Then there's water levitation. I can move water however I want. I can even snatch and trap enemies. But these skills drain my energy. As for getting more juice, I tried firing off both skills just to see what happened. Figuring out the energy game was going to involve some serious trial and error. And look, I'm running out of time. A lake dies when its source hits 0. As long as I keep the tap running, I might survive this. Time to test spring rain. I followed the system's cheat sheet and dumped 50 energy points into it. A sharp breeze kicked up, but looking up, the sky was still blue as heck. Not a cloud. I'm thinking, is this system a total scam? Then, out of nowhere, something cold hit my hand. It actually worked. A light pitter-patter of rain started coming down. It went from a drizzle to a straight-up monsoon. The energy was electric. It poured for an entire hour. By the time the storm quit, my little puddle had grown like 3 times its original size. I was covering 7 or 8 square meters now. Still small, but I checked the system again, pronto. That annoying red warning was finally gone. My heart, which had been pounding for a month, finally chilled out. But then, I felt it. A heavy vibration coming from way off in the distance. Within my range, I sensed several wild beasts from the plains charging straight for my location. This place has been bone dry forever. And now? There's a fresh bar open for business. These wild buffalo are definitely coming for a drink. I started getting real nervous. They're pack animals. If they bring the whole squad back, they'll drink me dry. I can't let them wreck what I've built. I wondered if my water clones could handle them. I needed to give them a brutal warning. It was the only way to keep the water I worked for from being slurped up by these beasts. The first buffalo burst through the brush and arrived right in front of me with a low grunt. It opened its huge mouth to take a sip, but then bam, a liquid whip lashed out from my surface. I coiled it tight around its thick, muscular neck. With a violent surge, I dragged the beast under. The creature went wild, thrashing around, but the more it fought, the tighter that liquid rope got. The pressure was insane, basically squeezing the life out of him. He started losing steam and blacking out. Finally, the big guy gave up. I dragged his massive head completely under the water. The splashing stopped. Total silence. The other buffalo who showed up late saw the whole thing. Their eyes went wide with pure animal terror. Seeing their leader get deleted like that, it broke them. They scrambled back into the brush, watching me from a distance with shaking legs. Then, a notification flashed. Host killed an otherworld beast, gained 100 points, achievement unlocked, first kill, another 100 points awarded. Talk about a come-up. Even after the 50 points I spent on the binding trick, I've got 200. So, that's the secret. Slaughtering living creatures is the direct way to farm energy. I looked at the rest of the buffalo in the distance. Their lives were basically in my hands now. I took a second to think. In this massive, empty desert, I'm the only watering hole for miles. Even if they can handle the sun, they won't be able to stay away from this spirit water forever. Walking snacks. That's all they are. I locked in on the beast I just yanked under. That bloated buffalo corpse just vanished into the abyss. Creepy. Desert nights are straight-up nightmare fuel. Way out past the dunes, predators were growling. Then, total chaos. Screams of things getting ripped to shreds. Brutal. Turns out this wasteland's got way more life than I initially guessed. Sun comes up, I check my system panel. Surprise, it changed again. 500 points. Nice. Seems like those mangy wildcats from last night. He couldn't resist a late-night drink. Bad move. I straight up slaughtered every last one of them. One buffalo cost me 50, but pays out 100. Simple math. 50-point profit every time. Did some digging and found a secret perk. I kill something, I eat it, and boom, I get its memories too. Sifting through those buffalo brains finally gave me the lowdown on this crazy world. No way this is home. It's like I crashed into some whack prehistoric era. Deep in those buffalo thoughts, I saw some wild stuff. Huge necks, lions wrapped in literal fire, horses with actual wings just soaring around, even humans throwing magic around. Honestly, my heart started racing. This is it. With all this magic around, there has to be a way for me to evolve back. No way I'm staying like this. I refuse to be a boring, stagnant lake for the rest of my life. If I can drag that fire lion under, the payout would be insane. We're talking massive energy points. A crazy, dangerous plan started brewing in my head. The buffalo were just snacks for that fire-breathing lion, which means that Big Cat is definitely prowling somewhere close by. The whole vibe is still trippy. But facts are facts. I've been stuck in this place for a whole week now. Managed to survive those first few days after that king threatened me. Now, I've got a new routine. Hunting is boring, but also kind of fascinating. Every single day, I spam my spring breeze and rain skill. I'm not just buffing my form, my total output is hitting new levels too. 7 straight days of rain later, and I'm finally a legit lake. Not just some pond. Thanks to that spring breeze vibe, my water is basically glowing with spiritual energy now. Pretty sweet. Those dying weeds, back to life. The tiny fish and shrimp, totally fine. Everything's thriving in here. But honestly, that's just the cherry on top. The real payoff? The constant pressure and action happening right at the water's edge. Critters show up daily. In the last few days, I've already bagged 20 wild beasts. Easy. The little guys, I let them slide. Not worth the effort. Late one night, this pitch-black beast creeps up, totally silent. Then squelch. Its paws hit the mud right at the edge of the lake and sink in. I felt it instantly. Looked like a dog. But the back legs were off. Definitely not a dog from back home. This beast was a whole different breed. Normal body, sure, but with 2 heads and 4 glowing red eyes. Plus, it had these bone spurs on its front claws. Looked sharp enough to slice through steel. It scans the area, then leans in for a sip. My move. No way I'm letting this one go. If I eat this 2-headed freak, the system is going to pay out big time. System's going to dump a massive amount of energy on me. Air whistles as I finally make my move. Boom, water and wind attributes activated. Regular animals are slow, but this hound? Its senses were on another level. The very second I break the surface, the hound reacts and lunges back. I already figured a single water binding wouldn't be enough to trap it, so I dropped 5 of them at once. It shredded 1 water rope with those nasty spurs, but I had more. The other binding snapped tight around its thick legs. Game over, buddy. It starts panicking, thrashing around like crazy. I put my back into it, using my fox form to reel the beast in. I dug in, hard. Step by step, I'm dragging it closer to the water. Almost there, the hound's going under. It looks at me, those red eyes glowing with pure hate. Suddenly, kaboom, 2 red laser beams blast into the water, sending massive plumes of spray into the air. What the hell? That last-ditch effort totally drained him. Body went limp. No more fight left. I yanked him straight down into the freezing dark. As for that final blast he threw, total dud. Just splashed some water around. Didn't do a damn thing to me. Ding. System notification. Congrats, you finished the hunt. Target is toast. Sweet. Problem solved. Level 1 magic beast. Smoked. Reward? 1,000 energy points in the bank. System alert. Presence detected. Some funky substance is inside the host. You want to start the refinement or what? I was still dizzy, trying to process the fact that I just cashed in a massive 1,000 energy point bag. Then the system mentions this substance. Really? Fine. Let's see what kind of loot we're talking about. I hit the refine button. Blink and you miss it. Done. Turned out I just cooked up 2 low-tier scraps. Monster essence, baby. Each one is worth 500 energy points. Easy money. Took a minute for my brain to catch up, but I finally figured out that 2-headed mutt. It's a straight-up hellhound. Strictly mortal tier, but still a magic beast. And those red lasers it shot at the end, those were coming from its eyes. Talk about an evil eye. The power was literally packed into its eyeballs. System dropped the lore. Everything in this world, from trash mobs to bosses, is ranked by how hard they hit. The ladder goes mortal rank, then transcendent, legendary, and finally the big boys, the saint rank. Plus, every rank has its own little grind levels. 10 levels per rank, matching my system exactly. I started crunching numbers using that dead bison's memories to see my competition. That hellhound I just smoked? Probably just a level 3 mortal scrub. As for me, I'm still a level 1 noob, but being a literal lake is a total cheat code. Physical attacks? Bruh, you can't punch water. Most skills just splash and do 0 damage to me. Yo, how do I level up? I asked. System said level 2 costs 2,000 energy points. Pricey. Better safe than sorry. So I pulled the trigger and bought the upgrade immediately. I need more juice if I'm gonna scrap with that flame lion. Level me up. The whole world started shaking. This creepy, mysterious mist rolled in and swallowed my entire surface. A few beats later, it finally started to lift. The big reveal? I was massive. My surface area literally more than doubled in size. I could even see green plants swaying down deep with fish and shrimp darting around in my waters. Upgrade complete. Then the system pings. Congrats, you just unlocked a brand new skill. Level 1 water arrow technique. After that, I was down to just 500 energy points. But I'm bigger now, and my ceiling is way higher. Finally, I've got a real way to bite back. Even the fish inside me got a boost. As for the water arrow, it's exactly what it sounds like. I squeeze water into sharp-ass arrows to snipe enemies. Costs 100 energy per pop. I can fire 20 at once, and that cap goes up as I grow. But looking at my stats, huge headache. With my current energy bank, I only had enough gas for 5 shots, total. Still, having a real weapon felt good. If I can just take down that beast, the system will rain rewards. Bison memories don't lie, the flame lion is the big boss here, and those bison are its favorite snacks. But with this drought, the lion's been hunting them like crazy. No chill at all. There are barely any bison left in the area. I gotta fix this and round up a new herd. I need bait to lure that lion out. Next evening, I went back to work with the spring breeze skill. I dumped all my energy into the land around me. I made it rain everywhere, turning the dirt into a lush green buffet. The perfect bison trap. Sure enough, at night, a few bison showed up. Once they saw no danger, they started chugging my water. I'm big enough now that I don't need to be a penny pincher with my water supply. I stayed ghost, just waiting for the flame lion. I didn't move a muscle while the crowd gathered. They started grouping up around my banks. Suddenly, the guest list was getting way more diverse. Even had some water birds chilling by the shore, splashing around and having a blast. I played the long game. I had to make this place look like a total safe zone. Once every animal in the zip code is here to drink, the flame lion won't be able to resist. Maybe it's because my water is packed with spiritual energy, but these animals started looking extra juicy. To a predator, they must look like walking steak dinners. I was just waiting for the lion's first bite. 2 days in, and still no lion. I just watched a few wild dudes bathing in my water like they owned it. Honestly, holding back was pure torture. Day 4 finally rolls around, and boom, there he is. This absolute unit draped in flickering flames. Finally popped up on my radar. It's showtime, baby. My whole surface was literally vibrating with hype. As that fiery silhouette got closer, no lie, I actually started getting those pre-game jitters. Can you blame me? Taking on a rank 3 powerhouse for the first time is kind of a big deal. One look at this lion told me he was way more than your average neighborhood stray. Part of me was like, can I actually pull this off? The big guy hits the shore, dragging his lunch for like 500 meters. Everything nearby suddenly got the memo and dipped. Well, except for some clueless bison messing around in the shallow water. They were freaking out, trying to book it back to dry land. Nope, I messed with the current, hitting them with a wall of water they couldn't push through. One bison in particular was my main target. Firecat reaches the edge and just crunch. Jaws locked right onto that bison's throat, blood everywhere, turning my water into a total murder scene. Poor guy didn't even get a chance to let out a peep. Just as he's getting ready to dig in, I flip the switch on my water manipulation skills. 3 massive water cobras just explode out of the lake, straight at his head. Dude was definitely not stupid though. He chucks the bison carcass at my snakes like a shield, but since I'm the one driving, I just made them weave right around it. Piece of cake. They dodged the flying meat and looped right back for his neck. He opens his giant mouth and spits this crazy fireball, totally nuking one of my water ropes into steam. The whole place is roaring with the sound of splashing water while the other snakes lock him down. I had his legs pinned tight, now it's a straight-up tug-of-war between me and this beast. This guy was legit strong, way tougher than the usual trash I fight. He was actually holding his own against the weight of my entire lake. And then, that fire collar around his neck starts blowing up, getting huge. I'm watching my water ropes, praying they don't evaporate. No time to wait, I had to go all in. 3 water bolts shot out of the depths. The first one was aimed right between his eyes. The next 2 were right on its heels. The beast let out this earth-shaking roar and coughed up a literal wall of flame. It was slow, but it stacked up right in front of him just as my first shot hit. My first arrow just vanished, total wipeout. The second one slammed into the heat, making the fire flicker like crazy, but it didn't break. I put everything into that third shot, steering it at the very last second. It zipped right around the obstacle, left that fire cloud in the dust as I sent the bolt arching high. Completely flew over the firewall. Guess he's about to learn a very painful lesson. The water arrow buried itself right in his brain pan, leaving a nasty hissing hole. Blood started gushing out immediately. The second that bolt hit home, his massive fire shield just crumbled into nothing. But that red fire ring on his neck kept burning while I dragged him under. This hunt was a total Hail Mary. I was running on fumes. I was dead tired, but it's worth it. Once I finished eating this rank 3 beast, the system finally pinged. Congrats on the kill. Consuming a rank 3 flame lion bagged me 3,000 evolution points. Weird energy detected. Want to refine it? I had a pretty good feeling about this. It had to be that fire ring on his neck. Breaking that down would boost my heat resistance. Fire is basically the only thing that scares me. I didn't think the system would just hand me immunity like that though. If I keep refining higher tier flames, could I eventually just, eat the sun? That whole sneak attack was a massive win. 3,000 points in the bank. I had to sit back and think for a sec. The meta for gaining energy was obvious now. Hunt living stuff and refine the rare loot. But I need better skills for that. My spring breeze skill is the bread and butter for getting bigger. Then there's water flotation. But water sword is my main weapon for dealing damage. It's the heart of my build. I decided it was time for an upgrade. Leveling up costs 500 points. Upgrading the other stuff was a cool 1,000. I dumped everything into buffing my water sword. The price for these upgrades is actually insane. A huge mountain of points just to go from level 1 to level 2. I can already tell the high-level stuff is going to cost a literal fortune. If I wanted to flex on the big boys and harvest that sweet, sweet energy, I had to evolve. Simple as that. No upgrades, no game. So, screw it. I went all in and boosted everything at once. Boom, instant makeover. I dropped 2,000 energy points like it was nothing. I had to see if these level 2 perks were actually worth the hype. I popped Spring Wind again. It cost me a full 100 points this time, and man, the vibe was totally different. The energy was heavy, straight up violent. Suddenly, this massive, angry storm started absolutely shredding the desert floor. I could literally feel the power falling from the sky. It was packed with way more spiritual juice than before. Even though it was pouring buckets, I realized I wasn't getting as huge as I thought I would. Weird, right? I had to scan every single drop of my liquid self to find out why. That's when I found the culprit. Tucked away in the mud was this tiny little thing that must have hitched a ride in. A single seed, tucked in from who knows where, and it was chugging my spiritual energy like an absolute beast. It was pulling every bit of moisture toward its core, basically mugging me for my own water. Let's see what you're made of, little guy. I was half annoyed, half impressed. I decided to mess with it, dumping a huge chunk of my lake water right onto its head to see what would happen. 15 minutes pass, and this peanut-sized thing is still going. It was drinking at a speed that shouldn't even be possible. It literally swallowed a whole section of my lake. Seriously, mind-blowing stuff. Finally, it looked stuffed. It gave a little wobble, and then bam! 2 tiny leaves popped out. It did a little dance and started shooting up like crazy. In seconds, this speck became a full-blown tree, already over a meter tall. The crazy part? Its roots were 2 meters deep, digging through my silt-like claws. I didn't wait. I blasted its new growth with a water arrow. I went straight for the jugular well, the stem. It snapped, and this sound just exploded in my head. It was like a ghost whale screaming. That high-pitched shriek gave me the literal creeps, but at least the roots finally quit moving. Then the system pings, "Congrats, host. You found a mutated ghost willow." A new screen pops up. Bond with it or make it your slave. Choices, choices. I didn't even know the system could do that. I had to sit back and think for a second. Usually, ghost willows are just basic desert trash that hides in the sand, but this one was built different. This thing was a straight-up freak. It didn't just want water, it had a serious hunger for something else. It was designed to eat blood and souls. That's how it gets its gains. While I was out hunting, it was secretly vacuuming up all the leftovers. Blood and souls were its literal fuel. And once my spirit rain hit it, it finally decided to crawl out of the dunes for real. I followed the prompt and made that mutated ghost willow my slave. Easy choice. I've got goals, you know? I need energy, and I need it now. Wiping out desert monsters is the only way I'm gonna hit the next level. The blood is useless to me, and honestly, I don't care about their souls either. But that's exactly what this tree craves. It's a win-win, really. I can see where this is going. I can see the future. With me steering the ship, this ghost willow is going to become a total nightmare, my perfect ride or die. Then the system chirps. Congrats on your first pet, the mutated ghost willow. I got 2,000 energy points right on the spot. Plus a new perk, Soul Talk. Now I can chat with anything that's got a soul, talking straight to their inner self. I checked the system panel again and things were looking way different. The screen had evolved. A whole new section popped up right next to my own stats. It was for the tree, Mortal Rank 2. Skill, Ghostly Trajectory. Special moves, Blood Siphon and Soul Devour. The system warned me that this tree is in its growth phase and is basically pure evil. I've got to keep it on a short leash. It just got here and it's already as strong as I am. This thing is a total freak of nature. I'm not sweating the evil warning though. A slave can't exactly stab its master in the back. Good? Evil? Who cares? In a world this messed up, being a good guy is just a luxury I can't afford. I tuned out everything else and locked onto the tree, reaching out to its mind. Deep inside that willow, I caught this wild, buzzing energy. The thing's soul was literally vibrating with hype. Since it was just a newborn, its mental space was total mush. No way it could hold a real conversation yet. It just sent me these sketchy vibes, mostly about wanting to drink blood and eat souls. Basic baby stuff. After the absolute mess of that last fight, the local animals booked it. They probably won't be back for ages. With zero prey around, I just used my water powers to keep the ghost willow hydrated. Gardening is weirdly chill. After it finished its gross little snack, That trunk I snapped with a water arrow started growing back fast. I just banked 2,000 new energy points. I'm feeling loaded, so there is no reason to be cheap. I dropped a full 1,000 points on a massive storm. This time, I didn't even bother limiting the range. A thick fog rolled over the lake. Then, a annoying drizzle just kept falling for 7 whole days. Even when the sun was out, the world looked like a trip. This was my personal summer expansion pack. The lake stayed chilly and wet. Suddenly, all those dead, crispy trees actually started twitching back to life. Seeds from miles away started popping up with these tiny green shoots. I became the only green spot in this literal graveyard. That weird shift definitely caught the attention of the locals. The ones who saw my last killing spree stayed back, shaking. But the new guys? They ran over like idiots. Looking at them, I had a total light bulb moment. Honestly, hunting these basic, boring animals was a total waste of time. I need magical beasts for real gains. I told the willow, stop. Don't touch the commoners. I'm making this place a paradise. My water is basically an arc of life now. That's how I'll get even stronger. Then, finally, this dude actually showed up. I was just vibing, making ripples in the sun and looking at the world. Then boom, I felt it. This massive power surge was coming from the distance. It was closing in on me crazy fast. Soon some guy appeared on the shore. My animal fans were still just chilling, getting a drink. They didn't have time to move. A huge explosion went off and they all bolted in a total panic. I was internally screaming, finally, a human. But this guy, he didn't look like your average Joe at all. This was not ideal. Things started looking really sketchy, really fast. One dude was wearing these dusty gray robes, long green cloak, sharp nose, and piercing blue eyes. He looked around 30 or 40 years old, and he was death gripping a staff. Looking closer at that staff, I realized his arm was just bare bone. Gross. Then there was the other guy. I thought he was a regular man at first. But then I spotted those long, pointy ears. His skin was way too pale, like ghostly white pale. He had wings and a bow, an elf. Cruz, you messed up trespassing here, he yelled. The king wants you dead. By the king's word, you're toast. Suddenly, his basic arrows started glowing. Cruz, the wizard, just stood there with this faint yellow glow. He looked like he was facing his worst nightmare. This weird object was just hovering right in front of his chest. He started chanting and pointed his bone staff. Then, the tip literally stabbed through his clothes into his own skin. His face looked totally wrecked with pain. I watched him struggle and writhe like a crazy person. A black bead on the staff started turning blood red. Cruz snarled. How dare you? He glared at the elf. Brandy, you royal brat. You're too cocky. I'm going to ruin your whole life. Let the death god give you eternal life. He screamed, Baccaros. Then the chanting finally stopped. The staff stopped drinking his blood. A red explosion just totally erased the elf's green sword glow. Inside that light, something scary formed. A massive, terrifying scythe just spawned out of nowhere. It swung hard at the elf. Brandy didn't flinch. He just stood there like he was ready to die. The wings on his back started shaking, pumping out this intense yellow light. All that energy went into his blade. He lunged forward instantly, becoming a total blur. It all happened in one breath. He got blasted back 100 meters. His yellow sword light smashed the scythe. Boom, pure carnage. His shield held for like a heartbeat before getting totally wrecked. Grandy didn't even look back. He just bolted, trying like hell to outrun that scythe's deadly reach. Total waste of time. Before he could even yell, his head hit the dirt while his body kept running. Watching that, Cruz finally snapped. His legs just gave out and he face planted into the mud. I'm just sitting there in the nosebleed seats, holding my breath and praying. I didn't dare leak a drop of juice because I could still feel that scary-ass vibe hanging in the air. Bran's Reaper blade was still right there. Even after it finished snacking on Grandy, the weapon didn't just poof away into nothing. Nope, instead, this gross eye opened up right on the blade. It was cold, scary, and smelled like a dumpster full of death. Nothing else could describe it. Cruz just stared at that bloody sky scythe, frozen like a total statue. His mouth was wide open, but zero sound came out, then wished the scythe just sliced through the air one more time. Boom, Priest Cruz lost his head instantly. Right then, some weird-ass glow started leaking out of Grandy's corpse. A fire streak lit up, and this wave of yellow light just zoomed out from his remains. It ripped a hole in the void and vanished. Honestly, everything was changing way too fast for my brain to handle. I just stood there, totally shook. After a second of silence, I popped off 2 water lift spells real quick. I dragged the bodies of Cruz and Grandy, along with their loot, deep into my water stash. Didn't expect anything to be lurking in this tiny puddle. I hadn't picked up any life signs at all, but that was Cruz's voice. Dude was still alive. Sure enough, something started crawling out of his mangled remains. This shriveled, freakish shape. It was Cruz. You little rat, you really think you can touch a death god's loot? You even touched my body. Man, he was as sneaky as they say. Necromancers are just built different with soul stuff. They keep their spirit intact somehow. Even after using that forbidden nuke spell, he was frantically looking around, trying to find out what just moved. Looking at him, it was clear Cruz couldn't see the real me. Perfect time to see what this ghost thorn tree can actually do. If Cruz was still at 100%, I'd probably be toast. No way I could take him then. But now? He's just a leftover ghost. To a tree that literally eats souls for breakfast, he was nothing but a tasty little snack. The branches of the ghost thorn tree were shaking with hunger. It couldn't hold back its appetite anymore. A necromancer's soul? Talk about a rare treat. The second I gave the order to strike, several thorns shot out from the trunk and went flying straight at Cruz's face. He didn't have time to move. He never thought a tiny sapling would jump him. The thorns nailed him. "You dirty little rat," he screamed. His soul got dragged to the statue and started burning up. Cruz let out a scream that would turn your blood cold. Those thorns carved deep rifts into his spirit, making his form flicker and glitch out like crazy. It was obvious my ghost thorn tree was putting him through some serious, permanent pain. Then boom, the thorns exploded, shattering Cruz's soul into 1,000 tiny pieces. This guy was a legend who'd actually outrun the Holy Temple of Light's hit squads. He'd even taken out a successor to the Earth Spirit, a straight-up royal elite. And yet, my little plant buddy just wiped him off the map without even sweating. The tree reached out its roots for the leftovers, so I let it drink. But I didn't let it finish everything yet. I had one more thing to do. I needed the system to pull the essence from both of those guys. Plus, once the system sucks out their memories, their souls get way cleaner. Makes eating them a lot easier. Congrats, host. 1 level 3 extraordinary spirit royal extracted successfully. Reward: 2,000 energy points. 1 level 2 dark necromancer corpse extracted. Reward: 1,000 energy points. Scepter and bow refined. Success: 1,000 points gained. The energy just kept rolling in. I couldn't believe I banked this much just by looting bodies. This is a total gold mine. Did I just find the ultimate survival hack? If I can grab energy just by snacking on corpses, life just got a whole lot simpler. A massive plan started clicking into place to make my energy gains absolutely skyrocket. After I let everything digest for a bit, I finally started to really get how this world works. Those high-level memories were way more detailed than the random junk I got from munching on wild monsters. My map of this whole world was getting filled in by the second. Looking at the Divine Demon continent, it was obvious this place was a total dumpster fire of chaos. A mess of different species was constantly fighting for scraps. But the Holy Light Empire was the undisputed top dog. These guys worshipped the god of light like crazy, basically forcing everyone to follow their rules or get deleted. Then you had the Wizard Hall, the place where that creepy Kulus guy actually came from. They were obsessed with the god of death, thinking dying was the only way to live forever. Super edgy. Rise Spirit Race was the other major player. Except they were basically total hermits, hiding out in the middle of these massive ancient forests. They didn't do guests. If you accidentally stepped on their grass, they'd hunt you down until there was nothing left. Kulus got squeezed by the light mages until he had 0 options, so he bolted into the spirit forest only to have Randy jump him. Faced with a dead end, Kulus decided to pull the literal nuclear option with a forbidden spell. It was this nasty dark magic sacrifice, pure devastation once it's out, but you have to pay with your soul to cast it. Whether it was the flashy holy light stuff or the dark wizard arts, seeing that level of magic was incredibly rare. I'm still a total noob in this world. If Kulus hadn't gone kamikaze and taken Randy out with him, I'd be in serious trouble. With my current stats? Yeah, no way. I couldn't have handled either of them. Just a weak little lake, I guess. I mean, Kulus was just one necromancer. And yet the elven royalty is way more cracked, not to mention those heavy-hitting bishops at the Holy Temple. Then there's the big boss, the god of holy light. I can't even fathom the kind of power that deity is packing. Luckily, I've got the system in my corner. Pretty sure one day I'll be standing on the same level as those gods. I basically did nothing and walked away with 4,000 energy points. Exactly what I needed to finally hit the next tier. System, upgrade me, I thought. 4,000 points vanished. Congrats, host, the voice chimed in. I was moving up. Level 3, baby. Finally, my water started bubbling and churning like a giant angry pot. I blew up in size, finally hitting 800 meters across back to where I was before that brutal drought almost turned me into a salt flat. Now I'm actually starting to look like a legit force of nature. It felt incredible. I used to be a pathetic little puddle when I first dropped here, but now, call me a great lake. Suddenly, the ghostwood tree started acting up. A massive pulse of soul energy just rippled through the air. Pulled up the UI to check the stats. Mutated ghostwood tree, mortal tier 3. The tree leveled up right alongside me. Guess the leftovers from Kulus and Randy made for some pretty elite fertilizer. Those souls definitely did some work. Then, I heard this tiny, high-pitched voice coming from the tree. It hit my brain directly. Seriously, she was actually talking to me. This is a total win. Being a god is cool, but if I didn't have anyone to talk to, I'd lose my mind. I spent my time helping her learn to speak. Felt like a proud dad watching his kids say their first words, honestly. Months went by. Aside from some dumb animals and the occasional stray monster, I saw nothing. Still no actual civilization, not one human. It was getting super annoying, to be fair. If I don't find some intelligent life soon, I'm gonna be stuck at this level for a long time. My surface area kept growing. My vision expanded too, but the wasteland just never ends. It's just nothingness all the way to the horizon. I was starting to get pretty bummed out. Then one morning, while I was just teasing Tiama to pass the time, her IQ had shot up pretty fast by then. She was basically as smart as an 11-year-old human kid. Since my name is Chu, I officially named her Tiama. Suddenly, the ground started shaking. The sound of hooves. A huge army was charging right for my shore. Humans? Finally, I was hyped until I actually saw them and my jaw hit the floor. That was definitely not an army of guys. They were scorpions. Massive, giant scorpions. Each one was like half a horse. When they moved together, it sounded like 10,000 stallions at full gallop. The ones in the lead were terrifying purple scales shimmering and stingers glowing with this nasty lethal light. This monster squad hit the shore led by a huge general. He looked back, and the whole swarm stopped instantly. He pointed a claw at the new guys in the back, basically told them to get in there and drink up. Those scouts chugged their fill and headed back to the squad without a single scratch. Only then does the big boss scorpion give the word, ordering the whole swarm to move in organized units. I'm watching them like a hawk, feeling something's off. My gut says this general is barely a level 3rd rank chump. The dudes behind him are 2nd rank and the rest? Straight up fodder. But seeing them move like a legit army is actually wild. I think back to those monsters I wrecked earlier. Lots of level 3 types, but none of them had a brain like this. I'll just chill and see what these bugs do next. If I can gobble them all up at once, these thousands of scorpions would be a massive level up for my energy tank. I sat tight and waited until every last soldier finished their hydration break. Finally, the boss man himself steps up to the edge. He dips his head, then whoops, slips right into my water. I'm literally sitting here debating whether to strike or just wait, when boom, everything flips. This massive thunder starts rolling in from the distance. It's louder than the bug army's march, for real. Leading this new lizard squad is another 3rd rank knight. They fan out, totally trapping the scorpions. I'm like, is this about to be a massacre? Let them rip each other to shreds while I kick back and loot the remains. The trap closes in tight. As they get closer, the scorpion formation starts falling apart. Straight up panic in the ranks. Big Boss Scorpion didn't even get a sip before the chaos hit. He starts waving his claws around, screaming at his boys to hold their ground. A literal wall of lizards keeps pushing, forcing the bugs back further. The two sides look ready to blow. The vibe is so tense you could slice it, but something feels off. Neither the scorpion nor lizard boss actually wants to scrap. But their subordinates? Those usually obedient soldiers are losing their cool. These grunts are starting to crack. At the sight of their rivals, I'm watching the two sides locked in this stalemate. Since neither of you guys wants to make the first move, I guess I'll have to give you a little nudge. I fire off a sharp whistle, and a water arrow zips out of my depths, skewering 2 or 3 lizards instantly. The shot doesn't stop until it nails a scorpion too. The bugs, already on edge, lose it when the chaos erupts right behind them. Their formation just dies. Absolute freaking madness. They just charge out. Now that massive lizard wall and those rock scorpions are locked in a death grip. That one shot? Yeah. It just nuked the peace and set off an all-out race war. The scorpion and lizard bosses were completely blindsided by the whole thing. They're barking orders like crazy, but it's too late. They're all tangled up now. It's just pure battle instinct. And now all that's left is this raw rage. No one's listening to the stop command anymore. The two leaders even started offing their own kind to try and end the mess. Watching these armies go psycho is wild. Whatever grudge they have, it clearly goes way back. I watched as they hesitated to strike. Specifically the leaders who held back. The Scorpion General and the Lizard General. This whole thing is fishy. Why are two groups that hate each other so much trying this hard to play nice? They're literally terrified to fight, and there's only one reason for that. If they won't engage, it means there's something even scarier out there. A presence that won't let them scrap? Some terrifying presence is basically acting as a cosmic referee to stop the war? What kind of nightmare fuel could scare two whole races like this? Thinking about it gave me a serious we gotta go vibe. I'll get spotted eventually, but I'm not leveled up enough for that smoke. This world is packed with magic that could wreck me. The Scorpion and Lizard bosses finally realized the war was happening, whether they liked it or not. The two of them finally stepped up. But they still didn't look like they wanted to fight each other. Instead, they both start marching toward my lake. They saw it, something coming from the water. That sudden water arrow from earlier, that's what spooked the troops and lit the fuse on this whole powder keg. They're standing on my shore, eyes glued to the water, looking for anything. The lizard boss lets out a nasty hiss and hawks a loogie into the lake. This thick glob of green venom hits the surface, and the second it touches my water, it starts spreading crazy fast. Anything I touched turned into a floating buffet of dead fish. I just sat there, chillin' like a villain, waiting for my moment to clap back. Eventually, the scorpion general finally lost his cool. Man was pressed. His tail started glowing like a neon red sign, then boom, it's a giant spear. He goes ham, stabbing the water like crazy to find me. But crickets. Just a couple ripples. Both of those clowns were straight up confused. They couldn't find a single vibe of life in me. Their little test was a total fail. Scorpion General gives the Lizard General the side eye, basically clowning him. He gestures for him to go in. See, the lizard is built for the water. But the scorpion? He's just a desert rat. Lizard General starts talking smack, roaring like he's about to throw hands with his partner, but he folded. He crept into the water and dived deep toward the lake bed. Big mistake. I summoned these heavy water chains instantly. Lizard didn't stand a chance once he was in my house. Down here, I'm the CEO. I grabbed his arms and legs and tied him up tight with my currents. He's flapping his tail like a wet noodle, making tiny splashes. I had the whole lake on lock. I wanted this western scrub to fight for every single breath. Time to drop the hammer. Kid was toast. My water arrows turned him into Swiss cheese. Kept his nasty blood from ruining my aesthetic. I like my lake clean. Back on land, Scorpion General is staring at the spot where his buddy vanished. He knew he messed up. Dude was shook. He could feel the vibe shifting, and not in a good way. Once he realized his boy was ghosted, he tried to dip. Like I'd really let him walk away? Please. Water whips came flying out like heat-seeking missiles, snagging him from behind. Yanked him straight into the deep end. All his tough guy power? Worthless down here. He fired some poisonous needles, but whatever. One water arrow to the dome, and he was history. Easy work. The two big bosses, Lizard and Scorpion, were officially deleted. But the shore was still a total circus. Absolute mayhem. I sent a massive wave backwards, scooping up all the leftovers and crushing them into the deep. They were already gassed from the fight. Suddenly, the lake was full of floaters and turned bright red. The beach looked like a yard sale for severed limbs. Gnarly. Started turning those losers into pure energy. Sent the souls and blood to Guacadio, merging their memories. It's obvious these two tribes didn't just show up for a beach day. Both generals had the same guy in their head. Some elf dude. He was lurking, but those pointy ears and wings are a dead giveaway. He ordered a total search of the area. They had to check in constantly. But why is Legolas messing around in this specific wasteland? I don't think it was just about finding Grandandy. This guy is obsessed with every weird thing in the desert. Low-key, I started feeling a bit uneasy. Heavy vibes of a looming disaster. Looks like I'm clashing with the elves sooner than I thought. Gotta start prepping now. No time to waste. Nearly 2,000 bodies in the lake, plus the earlier ones. That's 20,000 energy points. Cash money. Hit the motherlode. Who knew mass extermination paid so well? Staring at the 3,000 or 4,000 bodies left on the shore. The profit was insane. My head was spinning, but I told my inner loot goblin to chill. I left the shore corpses for later. Checked the system. 5 digits for the first time. Real boss energy. Felt better than my first real 5-figure paycheck back in the day. No cap. Calmed down and decided to spend. Time to level up. Yo, system upgrade time. Maxed out everything. Spring rain, recovery, and the arrows. Level 5, baby. System pinged. Congrats, you're a beast now. Unlocked a brand new passive perk. Now I can drop the weight of a whole mountain lake on anyone's head, straight crushing it. One click and boom, instant bad vibes for everyone nearby. 500 points a pop? Pricey. I checked my HUD again. I had 20,000 points in the bank. Then poof, my balance tanked, down to 5,000. Just like that. 30,000 for the next level? Unreal. Money really does ghost you way faster than it shows up. These points are the same deal, but I've got a hunch. If I'm right, I gotta spend every dime, and honestly, I'll need a way bigger bag. Since those scorpion creeps and lizard dudes are basically elven henchmen, you just know there's more of them lurking around. Probably every single tribe out here is compromised. Everyone in this trash heap wasteland is basically the elves' little toy. Me versus the pointy-eared squad? Yeah, it's totally happening soon. Those general clown shoes only showed up at my lake because they smelled something fishy was going on. They came to snoop on the weirdness and accidentally ran into, well, me. Lucky for me, they didn't get to text home. I deleted them before they could snitch. Now I've actually got a little breathing room. Time. Precious time to get my life together. I can't just sit here playing goalie forever. Gotta find a way to smash this stalemate wide open. Boom, Ghastly's host drops me a line. Tienba finally hit his next form. He was screaming my name, all hyped up. When I turned, shocked. His trunk was barely 3 meters tall before, but now? He's basically touching the sky. Dude is over 10 meters high. Now he's a legit skyscraper tree, roots digging all the way into the guts of my lake. At least he's not chugging the whole lake anymore. Honestly, I was starting to worry if I could even pay his grocery bill. Checked his stats on the HUD, bam. Mortal rank level 5. He is moving up. Same skills. But remember how he wrecked Kuza's soul? A buffed-up Ghastly is going to be a straight-up horror movie. Then he hits me with, "Master, I'm starving." And yeah, food means snacking on those dead souls. Gross. No snacking yet. I'm keeping those bodies for a much bigger play. The scorpions and lizards clearly have some heavy hitters backing them. I gotta think about the cleanup crew. If I just delete both these tribes, their managers are definitely gonna come asking where they went. Any detective worth their salt would trace the breadcrumbs back to me, so those bodies are staying right where they fell. I gotta make this look like a massive mutual double cross. When the bosses show up, they'll just see one big, messy pile of losers. It will look like the scorpion boss and the lizard general just straight up murdered each other. Their masters will think the survivors just grabbed the loot and dipped for some other neighborhood. If I just keep my head down, those big shots won't even glance at my lake again. And as for these corpses, to every other carnivore around here, they're basically just one giant, free, all-you-can-eat buffet. This buffet is definitely going to attract some wild magical beasts. They will be my new energy farm. Good thing too, because I am feeling some majorly bad vibes lately. In the off hours when there is nothing to hunt, I'm busy grinding and mapping out my endgame strategy. I am spamming my only 3 attack skills while running drills with Tienba to get our tag team combos down pat. Turns out, if I shout specific things while attacking, my skills actually hit way harder. Real anime stuff. Also, my newest move is basically built to vibe perfectly with Tienba's kit. We synced up our attacks this time and wow, the results were absolutely insane. I kept a sharp eye on my territory too. I watched the weird plants growing deep under the lake, getting fat on crystal clear water. Literally everything in this place is growing like it is on super steroids. Watching the rain fall, I had an idea. Maybe I should start breeding my own army of crab generals? Wait, I just felt something scurrying around nearby. This weird little thing pops up. Its body is covered in patterns that look like flowers and weeds. It is a blue gecko, but its back is stained jet black, super edgy. Looks exactly like some monster from an old movie, but it is huge, way bigger than anything I have seen since I arrived here. Seriously, the biology in this world completely wrecks every rule of logic from my old life. Like those scorpions from the other day, growing as big as half a horse is already crazy. But this gecko? Absolute unit. A straight-up nightmare from my past life. Right now, this tiny lizard was literally trying to drill into a scorpion's brain. There were dead bugs everywhere, just piling up. See, these scorpions have armor like actual rocks. Digging into them should have been a total nightmare. But this gecko? No sweat. Its claws went through that shell like a hot knife through butter, just slid right in. A second later, it pops back out looking pretty pleased with itself. Then, it starts acting all paranoid, checking its 6. It lets out this happy little squeak and eyes a dead lizard nearby. Its tiny eyes were totally glued to the prize. This was getting good, so I crept up on the low. I sent a whip of water sneaking across the dirt toward the little guy. Right as that gecko crawled out of the lizard's skull, my water trap was already there waiting. Boom. I wrapped that liquid rope around its tiny body, and it went nuts, frantically slashing at the water like a tiny psycho. Bad move. It totally whiffed the math on this one. You can't exactly grab water, you know? Doesn't matter how sharp your claws are, you can't cut a liquid handcuffs. I was about to start messing with this weird thing. Then poof, the gecko just straight up vanished. I was floored. I had to go full sensory overload just to track it down again. It was hiding inside another scorpion corpse somehow. How did it even slip my grip? And the speed? Insane. Already inside a carcass. The sky looked like trash, dark and heavy, and the only sound was my water flowing. My trap was solid, or it should have been, but it wasn't enough to keep this little dude locked down. "Okay, I see you," I muttered. "Let's see how long you can keep this up." Refusing to be outplayed, I moved again. I conjured 5 separate water whips in the air, then I let them all fly at the exact same time. They shot toward the gecko like liquid snakes. They wrapped tight around the scorpion shell it was using for a fort. Playing hide and seek wasn't going to save it this time. Got him. But the little pest just gave me this cocky grin. Before I could reel it in, it vanished and reappeared yards away. I found it instantly. A little piece of my water rope was still stuck to its side like a tracker. It took 4 more rounds before I finally figured out the trick. Every time my ropes tightened, these tiny wings on its back would go into overdrive. Its whole body would thin out to slip through. It kept popping up in random spots. Clearly, this thing had some spatial talent, but it was pretty basic. Right now, the little guy's range was trash, not enough for any long-distance teleporting. It would just hop a few feet away every time, and honestly, it didn't look like it could even steer yet. Honestly, it is a miracle it hadn't slammed face first into a ghost silk tree yet. Watching it move, I already had a game plan. This weird, magic gecko was acting way too human for its own good. It rubbed its head with its claws, staring up at a massive tree. Then, with a quick rustle, it started speed climbing the trunk. Suddenly, these black spikes on the tree started growing. They shot out like spears, trying to turn the gecko into a shish kebab. The gecko just swiped at them, snapping those deadly ghost spikes like they were nothing but dry twigs. The huge tree started shaking like it was actually pissed off. Dozens of spikes lunged from every angle, closing the net on the lizard. Before the gecko could blink, I stepped in. I dropped a heavy pressure that made the lake water boil like a huge tidal wave. I dumped every bit of my scary aura into this one move. Locked on. Under that pressure, the gecko felt this invisible wall pinning it down from every direction. It couldn't move its claws or even flutter its wings. The spikes stopped an inch from its skin. It couldn't even twitch. It just curled up into a sad little ball. I watched it wait for the end. This thing had huge potential, and let's be real, spatial powers are super rare. I decided to pop my own divine skill to claim it. Right on cue, the system voice chirps in my head. Congrats! You just snagged a demon dragon gecko with spatial hacks. Want to enslave it? Mission accomplished. Reward, 2,000 energy points. Stats, demon dragon gecko. Level, mortal rank 4. Skill, short range blink. New moves unlocked, butterfly rebirth and demon dragon claw. The system warned me these guys are naturally violent. But honestly, that was exactly what I was looking for. Once its full power wakes up, it is game over for everyone else. Looking at the screen, I knew I had made the right call. Bagging a creature with this kind of ceiling was a total win. The payout is going to be insane. As for betrayal, not worried. As long as I am the one flexing the bigger muscles, it won't even think about crossing me. Mission accomplished. I finally let up the pressure, and those ghost spikes backed off, though the tree seemed pretty clingy. I told the ghost tree to straight up chill out. Suddenly, this demon dragon gecko starts wagging its tail like some thirsty puppy. Total brown noser move, it was clearly trying to stay on my good side. It took a few victory laps around the lake just to flex, then brain vibed me. Dude wanted to hit the shore right then. It could smell that buffet of dead guys on the battlefield, but honestly, hard pass. Those bodies were still useful, and the tree would have gone nuclear if the new guy ate its prizes. Yeah, not happening. The gecko didn't even try to catch an attitude with me. It gave the shore one last sad look, then flexed those massive wings. Straight into the ghost tree's canopy it went, landing like a lead weight on a fat branch. The tree wasn't feeling it at all, shaking its limbs like it was trying to toss a bad habit. 7 days went by, poof. Those bodies on the shore were basically turning into sun-dried meat. I kept a low profile the whole time. No way was I using my spring breeze skill to rush this. Seriously, if some creep was watching from the shadows, I couldn't risk them noticing anything weird about the tree or my lizard. These two were still at each other's throats every single day. But low-key, they actually started vibing. They finally found a rhythm that didn't involve constant murder attempts.